2024 Dune Part 2. Probably one of the most difficult movie reviews I've had to do. Let me tell you why. And yes, of course, I had to get the collector's edition popcorn bucket. Super excited, and now it goes in my collection back there somewhere. Let's start with the obvious. This is one of the most stunning movies released in my lifetime. The cinematography is breathtaking and visually it looks real. It's an absolute masterclass in acting, directing, character development. This movie shows you instead of telling you, which is hard to find sometimes these days. This is the type of movie that cinemas were built. This is the type of movie that the biggest theaters out there are meant for. This is epic to the fullest sense of the word. To me, I think this is the closest thing to watching paintings come to life. It's an emotional experience, and it feels like I watch history being made, kind of like the first people that got to watch Star Wars for the first time. And at the end of the day, I think this goes down as one of the all-time greatest movies of our time, of the 2020s. With that being said though, there are a few things to consider. It becomes hard to review because it's such a high-brow science fiction type of movie. Some might even call it a fantasy. And there's a lot of stuff that's hitting you, and it's at the same time. So I read the book first, and I had an idea what was going on in the movie, but not everybody else read the book before the movie came out. And there was a person sitting next to me, and I asked them what they thought about the movie, and they liked it, but they were kind of lost. They had really no idea what was happening, and they enjoyed the action, they enjoyed the score, they enjoyed the visuals, but you know, what's the actual story here? And I heard that from a few different people. And if you're wondering who did it better, the book or the movie, let's ask a better question. Was the spirit of the story captured? And to that, I think absolutely it was. I think the story that you get in the book is the best one for the written page, but the version that you get on the big screen is the best one for the movies. These are two very different type of ways to experience the story, and I think that it was captured appropriately. Adapting such a difficult classic piece of literature is a monumental task, and I think Denis Villeneuve did a wonderful, wonderful job. And remember, this book was considered unfilmable by many people. Now, why is it a hard review? Well, I think there's a couple reasons. Number one, anytime you read a book, you have a version of that in your head. And sometimes that story that you have in your mind doesn't quite match up what's in the big screen. Second, the movie version is going to take its own path as it tells a story, and not everything that was in the book is going to translate to the big screen. And it's not going to be an apples to apples type of comparison. And when you are dealing with such a classic piece of literature, well, I think you can tell how it can become difficult sometimes to review something like this, and an internal struggle, at least for me. I enjoyed both the book and the movie. I got to watch it twice, once in standard viewing and the second time in IMAX, and the experience is so different. When I watched it in IMAX, there was a moment that the sun comes out, and for just a second I squinted my eyes, and then I realized that I was inside a building, and yeah, that is how bright and powerful the projection inside one of these IMAX theaters can be. And when the sandworms come out, it's just, it's jaw-dropping, and there's a fight with the sun in the background, and it looks like a painting, literally, like you could just take a picture and frame it in your wall. And the sound is incredible, the seats were shaking, and the score sounds heavenly, and you just feel awe inside of you. And did I walk slightly deaf? Maybe, but it was an experience of a lifetime, you know? I'll get to say I was there, and I watched it in IMAX when it came out. And upon the second viewing, I think I got a lot of the little details, and I appreciated the acting so much more. It's on a completely different level, and the characters, as they smile, as they talk, as they smirk, you catch the little things that maybe in the first time it's easy to overlook because everything's hitting you at the same time. As I get older, I tend to care less and less about the love relationships of characters in movies, because unfortunately sometimes it can be a bit of a hit or miss. But the relationship between Paul and Shani is one of the most beautiful ones, and I completely bought it. I got invested because it felt real, it felt organic, it felt authentic as well. And I also think that this movie is a cautionary tale to maybe blind belief and power that can lead you astray sometimes. No spoilers here, but there's a speech that happens, and when it's going on, there was legit chills going down my spine. And I watched it with my brother, and he leaned over and he's like, bro, chills. And I told him, dude, absolutely, I'm feeling it right here. And it's absolutely powerful moment that, yeah, it's incredible. I don't know much about the author and his personal life or the influences he had, but I assume, and I could be wrong, but major world events of the time had to have made their way into influencing this book, maybe at some level. Remember, when this book was being written, it was a lot closer to World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, maybe even the Civil War had a little bit of an influence. And now, as we look back, it seems like that happened eons and eons ago when the world was black and white. But when this book was being written, all these major world events were just in the rearview mirror. Religious influences are strong. This is back when religion was much more prevalent in the day-to-day life of people. Drama are also masterfully woven in this movie. And don't forget all the fun recreational stuff that was, well, freely available back then. All these thoughts and more had my head spinning when I watched this movie. And it's something that I don't really experience maybe with some other movies. It was incredible. And I felt like I haven't seen something like this in forever. And it seems like these type of movies are really hard to come by, and it felt like I had gone on an emotional experience. I had gone on an emotional roller coaster ride with these characters. And honestly, I wish I could watch this movie with like a history professor or a politics professor or maybe a religious, someone that knows religion a lot better than I do. But at the end of the day, what matters is, what did you think? Film, of course, is subjective and it hits us all in different ways. What did you think about it? Remember folks, you owe it to yourself to watch great cinema.